You're listening to Conversion Cast, presented by Leadferno. I'm your host, Aaron Wyke. Conversion Cast focuses on digital marketing and conversion, exploring the art and science that turn a lurker on your website to a lead, a browser to a buyer. Today, we look at A/B testing for higher conversion. We'll discuss why it matters, best approaches, landing page elements, and more. My guest is Alex Nazarevich, VP of Growth Marketing at Unbounce. Alex is a highly experienced digital marketing leader in conversion rate optimization and data-driven marketing. Let's test Alex's knowledge on conversion. Or maybe my segue should be, let's A/B see what we can learn for Alex. Or maybe I just shouldn't be A/B testing my poor humor on you guys. Let's get started. Alex, thank you for joining me today on Conversion Cast. We're talking A/B testing. And here's where I have to start with this, and I should preface this might be my own bias. I'm a multiple decade digital marketing holy cow that's just out of control. I'm old. But at one time, I felt like A/B testing was something that was so heavily discussed and talked about. And I feel like it's fallen by the wayside a little bit as far as those hot topics or what's top of mind people. But what you've brought to the table, what I've heard you talk about other interviews, is it time for a renaissance of A/B testing?
Yeah, thanks for having me, Aaron. And I would say that the A/B testing renaissance might already be here for a lot of people. I've read that, less than 0.1% of all websites that are active right now online use A/B testing. But if you look at the top 10,000, nearly half of them do. So I would argue that the people who figured it out and have had success in building a really strong digital marketing funnel never stopped using A/B testing. I don't know if it went away. Maybe it went underground. And now it's coming back into the light for a number of reasons. So I think it's back.
It's back. It's back, baby.
Back, baby.
So let's touch on, for those that might not be as familiar or haven't dug in deep, at the surface, what are the core benefits and why you want to look at doing A/B testing?
Yeah, absolutely. So maybe a good place to start would be why we feel it kind of went away to begin with. And well, you and I have been, I think, in the digital marketing space for a similar length of time, Aaron. And you're exactly right. Say a decade plus ago, everyone was talking A/B testing. And it was like, the apex example was like, is it the orange button or is it the green button? Which one's going to convert better? And similar to that. And it got talked to death and it went away. And there's a few good reasons for that. In an era when there was limitless venture capital, when it was cheap to borrow money, when customer acquisition cost was low across paid channels, you could literally spend your way to growth. And this idea of growth at all costs became so highly espoused by big companies. I think that consciously or otherwise, we all followed suit. And you didn't really need to pay attention to what was going on your website as long as you were driving more customers, new customers, more volume at all costs. And, in the past few years, the whole situation's flipped on its head. It's more expensive than ever. Like Google, like Meta platform, LinkedIn are insanely expensive to advertise on. Marketing budgets are tighter. Budgets are tighter overall, and it's no longer like free borrowing, free money. So I think the tide is going out and exposing some of these weak marketing fundamentals. And the honest answer is it's easier if you do it right. It's cheaper, certainly, to convert an existing prospect who's already on your website than to go get new traffic, some of which will convert. So that's why if you aren't A/B testing right now, you probably should be.
Yeah, boy, I am so aligned with everything that you just talked about there. That's obviously at the core of what we do with Leadferno. We're all about conversion, starting more conversations. And just as you referred to, the environment of digital marketing has changed so much, and cost of acquisition, capturing that traffic, top of funnel, all of those things have massively grown. And what we see, what you see, is that bottom of funnel and the strategies and tactics and tools you're using there have just been so underserved for so long because of that focus on top of funnel. And you need it, right? You need to understand what's going on with your conversion. You need to understand what is your customer doing. You need to be capturing that data and looking at bottom of funnel and not just top of funnel.
Yep, exactly.
So let's talk about the elements of a web page and a landing page that marketers small business owners that are wearing the hat of marketing at time to time in the day, what should they be, looking at and thinking about? Uh, Maybe start with the common ones first, and then dive into what are all the other possibilities that they should be A/B testing on their web pages and landing pages.
For sure. I mean, I think the key is not to overcomplicate it. So any website, I mean, I'm thinking primarily landing pages because of course that's what Unbounce does, but
Yep.
any page on your website has got to do three things. First, you've got to confirm that they're in the right spot. What did they click to get here? And does this match? So when we're talking about that, that's the headline, that's the image at the top of the page. That's their first like half-second impression. Second, what information are they needing to get? And this one's kind of a tricky balance. You want to give them the minimal amount of information, but you want to give them everything they need. So fastest path to I got what I came here for, check. And then the third is you need a really concise, clear call to action. And that doesn't always have to be buy my product. It might be learn more. It might be sign up for my newsletter. It might be here's like a case study in your industry. But there's got to be something for them to do because if you hit a dead end, you're going to leave the website and you're not going to convert. So those are the three areas you want to play in. So then coming back to the first one, most people, I think spend a lot of time optimizing their headline and that's it. They kind of leave it at that. Like
Yep.
I've talked to a surprising number of people who are like, hey, I've optimized my headline a few times. Nothing seems to be working to boost conversion rate. What's next? I'm like, have you tried anything else on the page? Like that's where you start, but that's not where you end.
Yep.
So there's that part of it. I think everyone knows you should be optimizing your headline and testing like, will something that conveys urgency play better than something that conveys value or that conveys some sort of aspirational measure? It makes you see the best version of yourself. And then when I talk about information, this is where I think it's easy to get lost. And that's why I said you want to give the least amount of info that conveys the most. So this could be like user generated content, social proof, product specs. It could be pricing, maybe. It could certainly be packaging. If you're further up the funnel, it could be even just a block of text or some visuals that show you like what is the problem that your product solves. What's your elevator pitch? And the key here is I think you really want to test which elements are necessary and which aren't. I find typically people kind of under index on the social proof or do it in an ineffective way. And when I say social proof, I mean reviews from your customers, maybe a stream of posts from your customers' social media. It could be like your ratings on G2 or Capterra. It could be anything that's conveying other people use this. This is popular. Why aren't you using my product, right? And so these are the elements you want to be playing with here. But again, focusing on how you can pack as much in and keep it as short and concise as possible. And then finally, your CTA further up, there's two parts of this. One is being aware of where this page sits in your customer's perception. Is it top of funnel? Are they just learning about your brand? Or is this bottom of funnel? They've got their credit card out and they're ready to purchase. And so top of funnel, a mistake I see a lot of people making is jumping too quickly into buy now, start building for free, like here's your trial, whatever it is. But that can wait until they really know what your product is and they're convinced that this is the right solution for them. So something further up funnel might be learn more or download the case study, something that really shows them how this applies and it's risk-free to them. That's a great way to hook their interest and cement yourself in their mind for when they're ready to buy. And then further down the funnel, I think, as I said, like really clear, what are you getting when you click the button? Especially if you're saying anything about buy now, that can be intimidating, even if you haven't put in your credit card yet. What are some other ways to get people to start signing up? If you don't need a credit card right away, maybe buy now is too aggressive. Maybe it's free trial or learn more, or just a prompt to put in your email address that brings you into the checkout flow. These are all things that you should be testing further down the funnel.
Okay, you hit upon some great things in there. I want to start with maybe the most recent one you were hitting upon that I totally subscribe to, and that we really try to push to businesses is stop being an all or nothing conversion of buy or don't do anything else, right? And that's where we again, and we'll talk about how you've built some of these things into what you guys do at Unbounce as well, because when you operate software, you can't help but say, oh, well, let's make our tool make things better for people. So I look at the conversion of just allowing people to ask a question, right? When you are using, in our case, an SMS chat widget or another chat widget, or letting them know, hey, we can just ask a question. Those top of funnel conversions, you're able to now get them into a conversation. You know who they are. You can engage them in your sales process instead of, oh, we need this content and what's on this page to deliver them all the way to booking something, paying for something, making a complete and final conversion with what's going on. Let's move back up to some of the things that you started with, just because so many people do start with headlines. Let's break apart a little bit. You mentioned a few different areas, right? You're kind of approaching it from, I think the easiest way to surmise it is like what emotionally will connect with that customer, right? And you kind of mentioned a few different ones. It might be fact based, it might be purely emotion, it might be fear based, solution based. Talk a little bit more about how, when somebody starts to say, all right, I want to create 3, 4, 5 headlines, what does that approach look like? And then I can only guess you'll probably tell us using AI or some tools like that will help give you some of these ideas and variables too.
Yeah, 100%. I would, right off the top, I think AI is a great place to start. And it's going to give you it's going to give you a good start, but ultimately you've got to finish it off because you know your customer better than any program you could possibly use at this point. But that's exactly right, is especially at the very beginning with your headline, with your hero image, what is the emotion that you want to evoke in your customer? A lot of times we focus on urgency because that's what we've been trained on. Again, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that was the default sort of accepted way to drive customers down the marketing funnel. And as attribution's gotten better, as we've learned more about customer behavior, but also as there's become a proliferation of competition, we've learned that the winners are the ones who really hold their customers' hand through it. They're not like shunting customers down the funnel, giving the information they need. So to switch over to like, if you're selling to consumers, for example, maybe you sell suits, maybe you sell like tuxedos, and it's like, it's spring, summer. So there's grad season coming up, it's wedding season. And you're trying to figure out, maybe you don't know exactly who's landing on this page of tuxedos and wants to buy them. So you could try a couple of different things. You could position a headline around grads and graduation. You can match the image to that and have a bunch of like people throwing their caps up in the air. Maybe you focus on wedding season and you would do the same thing, but you'd focus on an older demographic, a little more romantic, maybe a slightly softer headline, and a lifestyle image of a wedding happening. Or do you focus on the quality of the construction? Maybe the tuxedo market is saturated, and maybe what's going to work better is focusing on how yours are constructed of fabric from the finest mills in Italy, to specific to your body measurements, with free alterations so that you look your best on your big day, whatever that day might be. And that's the idea, is that you have to test boldly, especially the less that you know about your customer. And I would argue we have less third-party data available to us than ever before, and it's less trustworthy than ever before. So we know less than we ever have about people who are visiting our website for the first time. So you really want to get out there and test broadly, like what works for the biggest amount of customers landing on this page.
Are you ready to centralize your website's conversions? Now, Leadferno can help you just do that with our lead form feature. Create a better contact form on your website that uses SMS over email for faster and better lead management with auto replies, notifications, and the power of quick engagement using text messaging. Check out our new lead form feature by visiting leadform.com and check out our 2-week free trial, or if you're an agency, our partner program. Awesome. So let's talk a little bit about someone where we're piquing their interest. They're realizing like, okay, I just shouldn't be set it and forget it with my main pages that are my conversion pages or some of the landing pages I've created for ads that I'm running out there. Where's the best place to start if you're going to start doing A/B testing?
That's like my favorite question ever, because it's so easy to focus up funnel. And as much as I'm all about optimize your landing pages are the point of conversion for customers off your website. So the same principle applies in your website, just a step down. You want to start as close to the point of conversion as possible. For most people, that's the checkout flow. So where the credit card comes out or where they're getting passed over to the sales team, if it's a bit of a bigger purchase, that is the point you want to start with, because every basis point you can increase the completion rate of that form, reduce the abandonment rate of that checkout flow. You're going to see the biggest bang for buck if you start optimizing there. So start there. And you work your way back up the funnel, similar as how you would start optimizing your landing pages and work your way back up your marketing funnel further up.
That is such an important point. I'm glad I asked your favorite question because I do think a lot of people's tendency would be to start at the top and then work their way down. But just as you put it, start closest to the conversion and see what kind of ground you can gain there and what you learn, and then ratchet your way up as you find the winners, as you find the areas that you're able to improve along that. So when people get into A/B testing, and in your extensive experience with this, what are some of the common pitfalls, mistakes, biases they come into with it? How can you save our audience today from experiencing some of these firsthand?
Yeah, we talked about a big one, which is start at the bottom of your funnel, not the top of your funnel. I talked about another one earlier, which is like the headline is the start. It is not the end. Headline is an easy and accessible way to test, because so many people land on your page and that's the first snapshot they have of what you're trying to do there. And I see just so many people leaving it at headline and, I'm optimizing this, but I'm not looking at anything else on the page. You've got to look at like your visuals. You've got to look at the other elements we talked about, like social proof, even the layout of the page. And then there's two more that I see a lot. One is kind of taking an additive versus a reductive approach. Again, minimal amount of information to get to the next step. So have you experimented removing elements from the page? Maybe you're doing too much. And then the final one I see a lot is around forms. Have you ever seen like a form that you wanted to fill out? It's like you do it because you have to, right? And even having your info pre-filled in Chrome, it doesn't really make it that much more enjoyable. I feel like we're getting a lot better, but even a few years ago, even now, it's still common. I'm like, why do you need my first name and last name and job title and company and? Like, all you need is my email to get started. You can ask all this stuff later. So I don't see enough people playing around with forms and how they can effectively move people one step further down the funnel. Because if you've got my email, it's easier for me to give my first name. It's easier for me to give my company and job title.
Totally. I call these form faux pas, right? And you'll hit these forms that are like, I call them the wall of death, because I view each field as like a brick in a wall. And so what I always talk about with customers is, the higher you build the wall, the less likely someone is to scale it, to cross over to the other side to working with you. So you're exactly right. How do you just collect the minimal amount of information and let your process be what converts that customer, instead of relying on, you need to fill out these 12 fields, 15 fields, 20 fields, right? They can get really ridiculous. And I understand for the business, especially when we get into smaller businesses, they feel like their life is made easier when this is a highly qualified lead that comes across to them. But you have to realize you're leaving so much on the table with people who don't have that level of commitment. And if you can just get engagement started with them, you can then get them to the end result that you want with it. So I think that's a really important point that you made there. Let's take a look at this from, just because so many of my listeners, because of who we work with, are small businesses. What are some core basics for these small businesses or the digital agencies that work with these that are often leaving A/B testing off the plate because a couple of things, probably either like volume of traffic, right? I feel like if I did A/B testing, it wouldn't be statistically relevant enough, or I have to run these a little bit longer, things like that. Where can they start at even a basic level? What advice would you give them to start thinking about and putting into motion?
Absolutely. So if you're going to be, if you're working with in a lower traffic environment, the impetus is almost to do more A/B testing, because every conversion counts. Like, sure, with a big business, if you have hundreds of thousands of visitors to your site every day, every basis point makes more difference. But on the flip side, if you're a small business, it's way, way easier and cheaper to be converting more of your existing traffic than to go out and get more traffic. So to me, it's almost like it's not even close. You absolutely have to be doing this. But you're absolutely right too, in that there are certain things you can probably ignore and certain things you should emphasize a little bit more when you are optimizing as a small business. I mean, if you're a small business yourself, I would say there, like, again, it's making it accessible to get started. So headline is going to have a big impact. It's the start and the end. It's the headline, and it's really your call to action. Those are the places you want to focus, especially if you're working off of a website template, which many people are, or a landing page builder that has templates, which many, again, Unbounce does. You can be assured that these are already set up for the likes of someone in your industry. So you can give the layout and the elements a little bit of less focus because you know they're working well enough. And then as you get more sophisticated, you may want to revisit that. And then for agencies, I think it's really important. I feel like the big burning question I hear, and keeps us up at night as digital marketers, is like, is my website converting above or below the industry standard?
Yeah.
So having an idea of other similar clients and how well they're converting, what are some of the things that they're doing, and sharing. You don't even have to share in detail, but just illuminating for your customers what best practices are in your niche. That's really important to do because it gives them the confidence that they're not going way off base here. I'm not adding a form to an e-commerce website. Obviously, no one's going to do that, but you can make similar faux pas if you don't know what's industry standard. So those are some good places to start. I would just say the important thing is to get started, period. It's better to it's cliche, but move fast and break things. And as long as you're focusing start of the page, end of the CTA, those are both very impactful places and easy to start.
Yeah, wow. You made an idea pop in my head when you're talking about that with agencies, and I think this is great. Hopefully, I will deliver this in an understandable way. But I think when agencies start approaching A/B testing and using it, exactly what you put out there now, even within your client base, you can start to establish some common ground and understand what can be done, how others are faring with this. You're going to improve every test out. So every time you do this with a customer, you're getting better at A/B testing, you're getting better at conversion rate optimization. And it has this trickle down or compounding effect on who you continue to do it for and how you serve them. And at the same time, I laughed a little bit too earlier because the thought that popped in my head when you talked about removing some elements could also produce something. I just instantly thought of like a lot of law firm sites that I see and others too, where there's literally like 12 calls to actions. There's 500 mentions of reviews and rating, right? Like there's so much. It looks like an infomercial on steroids. And your point would likely be better put across, more clarity, saying more with less, as you so eloquently outlined that, if you removed some of these, conversion rate optimization tactics and just did a handful really well instead of trying to spit 100 of them out on the page at one time.
Exactly. Like we always want to be doing the most, but sometimes we do too much. It's better to pare down and just be really effective.
Yeah. Oh man. The disease of a marketer, trying to do too much, what's next, everything else.
We're all guilty of it at some point. Like
yes, removal is not a key element in a marketer's thought process for sure. So great reminder on that.
Yeah.
Can you share a success story with A/B testing done right that you guys have seen and worked with at Unbounce?
I have a great one that we just ran a couple of weeks ago, actually. So. Nice. As I said, we're all guilty of some of these cardinal sins at some points. Well, it had been a while since we did anything in our checkout flow, if I'm being super honest. So, we took our own advice not too long ago and we reopened it and really looked at these steps. And sure enough, there's a lot of room for improvement there. The first test that we ran was around the very first line of text you see once you've selected your plan and you're in the checkout flow. And you think at this point, a customer is pretty dead set on purchasing, right? Well, apparently not. So we changed the text, which was something like sign up now. We dialed up the urgency. So it was like start building for free or like free 14-day trial. And right below that, we put some social proof in as well. And it was very unobtrusive. And unless you really paid attention, it probably wouldn't even look that different to you if you were already familiar with Unbounce's customer journey. but it made a huge difference to our customers. We saw something like a 15 to 20% boost in checkout rate completion on the variant versus the original control that we had. So it goes to show when you think your work is done, you literally have to start all over again at your new level and keep leveling up from there.
Yeah, awesome. The big takeaway for me to zoom out for people is just exactly what you guys did is let's go through our process and analyze it. And I think so many business and even marketers massively fail at that. They design these systems, they put it together, and they're not walking it through themselves as what's it like to buy from me? What's it like to book an appointment with me? What's it like to ask a question of my business? And when you don't have firsthand experience in that, you don't realize how it might be challenging, unmotivating, roadblocks thrown up, cold, unpersonalized, whatever those might be that are taking away from how you convert these customers into known contacts and leads.
Yep.
All right, lastly, Alex, you have shared a ton with us today, and I appreciate all of it because so much of it are all the things that either ruminate in my head or I'm working on or I'm trying to talk to people. So you and I are, I've already said it, we're so aligned on these things. So I don't know if that makes for a great interview because I just feel like it's another version of me talking to everyone, but you have some fabulous experience with what you've done. So that's probably the bonus, much more than mine. But lastly, let's touch on Unbounce, which has been around so long. I'm used to the days of seeing Ali speak at every single search conference that was out there. But how does Unbounce assist in the A/B testing process, and why should marketers be looking into it when they're looking to set up their process and tool set for A/B testing?
Absolutely. So Unbounce was founded on the idea that if you're landing customers on your homepage, prospects on your homepage, you're doing yourself a disservice. You're leaving money on the table. The main page of your website feels natural, but when you really think about it, it's kind of an everyman. It's got to appeal to existing customers, new customers, people looking for support, people looking to upgrade, people doing competitive research. And the idea was it would be so much better if we could quickly and easily build one page for each unique stream of customers with their respective intent coming into your website. And that principle holds more true today than ever before. We spend more money than ever on paid channels. Marketing and digital marketing have basically become synonymous. So if you're not using landing pages in this day and age, you're literally leaving money on the table. And Unbounce makes it easier to do that and provides you with, in addition to providing incredible templates and what I would say is a really intuitive user experience, it lets you just design exactly what you're looking for and publish it. So it takes the power out of the hands of sort of distributed across IT or dev or compliance teams and puts it fully in the hands of you, the marketer. And then where this kind of ties into A/B testing is on top of that, it makes it easier than ever with your landing pages to create variants of them so that you're always testing and optimizing. So set up your original one. Now that's your control. One click, you've got yourself a variant, make one change to that, launch your A/B test, harvest the results, iterate, and you're off to the races. So that's where Unbounce fits into this puzzle of digital optimization.
Nice. Easier, faster, better, what we're all interested in. Obviously, people can go to unbounce.com to check out the offering that's available there. Alex, if you've converted some people to saying okay, if this guy's sharing more information on A/B testing, conversion rate optimization, I want to know what he's thinking, where are some of the social places online that they can connect with you?
Totally. Follow me on LinkedIn. That's the best place. Better yet, follow Unbounce on LinkedIn, where I'm sharing all of my thoughts and the thoughts of others on conversion rate optimization, A/B testing, digital marketing.
Awesome. I will, of course, link and connect those in the show notes for today's episode. Alex, thank you so much for joining me today on Conversion Cast. It truly was a pleasure.
Thanks, Aaron. It was great to be here.